Okay, here's the gun for the Hago. So the 1-inch PVC I already had. So then there's a T here, and then 1 inch going up, and then a threaded cap at the top. So this is my magazine. This could be taller, but then when it's in the gun, the more you depress the gun, this reaches the roof of the turret. So I made it tall enough so that you can make the turret a little bit lower than level, but if you needed to depress the gun more, I'd have to shorten that a lot. So I don't think we'll have to depress it because, you know, we got to account for the arc of the projectile. So anyway, it only holds about 8 or 9 rounds. And I ground this part of the T out so I could insert this tube all the way down to about here. And then I ground out the front of it just enough for 1 cheese ball to pass through. Otherwise it would auto feed, you know, like 4 of them at once. So that sometimes 2 of them, it shoots 2 at a time, but usually one or maybe max 2 at a time by doing that. And then in the back, I put a nail, I drilled a hole and put a nail through the center so that no cheese balls can, like if you have the gun pointed up, I don't want cheese balls to fall back and go down into the valve. So there's a nail going right through the center there. This is your 1-inch sprinkler valve. You can find other videos on how to modify that. I originally tried it with the electric solenoid, but it opens real slow. The solenoid only has about, I don't know, less than an 1/8 inch of travel, and it opens a really tiny air hole. So it wouldn't give you a sudden blast of air. And so I modified the same modification I did on the Sherman sprinkler valve. You just, you know, drill and tap a threaded hole here for a 1/4 inch pipe, fill this hole, and there's a hole inside here you got to fill. And then it's got a 1/4 inch hole wide open, and it opens it up with a bang. It's much better. And then 2 bends, and then I stepped it up to 2-inch PVC so that I could get a little bit more volume in my pressure vessel here. And this is a flow valve. You don't need that, but what that does is it slows down the air coming from your supply tank. So when you fire it, it's immediately going to start refilling this tank or from here to the valve. And if you don't have this flow control valve and you hold the button down for very long, it's continuing to dump air out of your supply tank. So it just consumes your supply tank a lot faster. So this doubles your amount of shots you can get out of one fill on the supply tank. So that's what that is, just a little flow control valve. And then a hose that goes to the tank. I'll show you in a second. And for the trigger switch, you can just mount one of these here and then use this as your trigger to fire it. But that wasn't in the right orientation I wanted for this case. So I got this, this is an inline blow valve. It's got pipe threads on both ends. So I had to plug this end, and then I just ran the hose around so that here's my trigger button here to fire the gun. So when you pull that trigger, it dumps all the air out of this side down the barrel. Now in the Hago, I have the supply tank mounted in the back. 5-pound or 5-gallon tank, and there's just a regulator to regulate it down to a steady pressure, like 25 PSI, not a lot. And then a quick connect valve. And then this valve on this side is where you refill it with your air supply. And I don't know, I think I'm gonna get probably 100 shots out of this because the supply or the pressure valve or side of the gun is so small, it's not releasing much air with each shot. So, okay, next I'll get it installed in the cannon or in the tank and have a look at it firing.
Go.
You can see some of these shots really curve a lot. So theirs goes one, but shoots pretty good. I shot at least 100 rounds out of this thing, and the tank pressure went from, I think, 120 down to about 75. So I still had lots of shooting to go. I could have done with that one tank. I had it regulated at 30 PSI, and we'll do some close-up shots here, and you can see it's really just pulverizing these cheese balls. They're just turning into dust. Sometimes it shoots out 2 at a time, but mainly it's just shooting 1 at a time. It seems to work really well, though.
Sheesh. That's in about 3 of them out.
Oh,